everyone, this is Jen from Scrapping Posh with the Artistic Studio Creation Design Team project, and today we are going to add pages to our mini album that we did the decoupage on the cover, and I decided on the papers. I'm going to be using the stamp Maria Voyages Fantastique and the Ciao Bella Voyages Extraordinaire, and as of right now I think Crystal has this one available, unless it's sold out, because I know they went really fast. I'm not sure about this one, but I'll link both Ciao Bella and Stamperia below so you guys can see the different collections that they have, and you know, you can mix and match. You don't have to do all one collection. So if you really like, you know, different collections, and they have the same color scheme, go for it. That's what I did. So today we're going to go through how to do the pages, and I actually do a full sketch with you guys on how I can come up with the ideas that I have. And these are super simple page layouts, but you can always add to them as you're going, which is what we're going to do. But for this video and this week, next week we'll get into some matting and stuff. We're just going to add the page designs, and it's a little hard to see because it's brown on brown, but this one is a front pocket, super simple, with a flap and then a pocket on the back also. And then remember, and our main pages all have pockets on them. Second page is just a flap, and all the pages have the pockets. I'm going to quit saying that now. The third page we didn't put all the way together, but we do our measurements. This is going to be a double pocket page. I wanted to mat this section before I put those on. So, and then the fourth page is a large flap out and then a pocket on the actual page itself, and we still have this pocket here. So, and then it repeats. So that is what we're going to be doing today. I take you step by step, like I said, starting with how we come up with the sketch, and all the way with doing, I do one of each page for you before I do the second set of 4 pages, you know, on my own. Okay, so I hope you all enjoy. Take a little bit of time and relax and make yourself some pages, and take this video inspiration for your own page designs and come up with all sorts of great ideas too. So, alright, here we go. Have a great day. Hi everybody, this is Jen from Scrapbook Posh, and I'm going to continue on with my Artistic Studio Creation Design Team project, and this is using a Ciao Bella collection. I haven't figured out what I'm using for my pages yet, but we'd use the rice paper for the cover. Today we're going to do the hinge system and the base pages. So this is a 8-inch album with a 2-inch hinge, and you can make it any width, or I guess it would be height, and it's 6 inches. But you can make it any height. You would adjust your height of your paper a 1/2 inch smaller than the height of the album. So this is 7 3/4, and I leave the length at 12 inches from 12 inch paper. You want to make sure this paper is not going to rip. This is the Doris brand paper, and it works very well, and it's not that expensive. And I believe Crystal carries this brand. I got it from my local craft store because I have a lot of paper. So we're going to use the Kathy Orta style hinge. It's called a hidden hinge. It's the one I typically use, and she has done a video on this, so I am just reiterating it. I will link you to her channel. She is now Kathy Orta King from Paper Phenomenon, and she is phenomenal. So basic idea is every 1/2 inch you score 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch. The 1/2 inch is the hinge, the 1/4 inch is the gusset, and this will yield you 8 hinges for 8 pages. So We're going to start at 1 inch, and that'll give you 1 inch to bite onto with your glue to hold on to the album. So half, half, quarter, half, half, quarter. I do this enough that I have marked my scoreboard with these measurements. So I'm just going to read off the measurements as I go for you. 1 inch, 1.5, 2, 2 1/4, 2 3/4, 3 1/4, 3 1/2, 4, 4 1/2, 4 3/4, 5 1/4, 5 3/4, 6, 6 1/2, 7, 7 1/4, 7 3/4, 8 3/4. I'm sorry, 8 1/4, 8 1/2, 9, 9 1/2, 9 3/4, 10 1/2. I'm sorry, 10 1/4, 10 3/4. Okay, that is your hinge system. And set your scoreboard aside. We will be using that again later. You guys seen me put this seam binding through here. I also looped seam binding through this eyelet for my rhymes with my tassel, my charm. But I want this, I'm going to adhere this down. So just going to put a piece of tape. This is not what's going to hold it on there. It's just going to hold it down so that it's going to keep its, 1, it'll stay flat. 2, I want to keep the ends about the same length. Oh, I thought I tied this. Tie the ends of seam binding. I don't know if burning it works. Okay, so let's see. I'm gonna measure it. This is sticking out about 11 inches. This one's sticking out about 12 inches. That should be about right. It doesn't have to be exact. And if it's crooked, it's crooked because I punched the holes crooked. That ain't gonna matter either. This, don't go all the way to the top because that's not gonna be covered. Just want to flatten it. Okay. I'm going to set that aside and we're going to start bending this hinge. Super simple way to do it is just bend every 1/2 inch where the 2 1/2 inches come together, bend it up. And then you push it down on the table. That's going to give you a nice starting point. There we go. And now I think I'm going to use my super mega duper score tape, my 6-inch score tape, to go right down the middle of this hinge. You want the hinge covered. It is the most important part. One of the most important parts. I've never actually done this before. I'll let you know if it works. It would help if I could glue things on straight, right? My 1/2 inch roll tape. There it is. Score tape to me is the best adhesive for this. I've made many albums for 7 years now. My first mini album popped up on my feed, my Facebook feed yesterday. So yeah, I've made many albums for 7 years and I've never had one come apart because of the adhesive when I use score tape. This is the first time I've ever done this. Typically I just do 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch. I'm just seeing if this is any faster because I like to streamline my process. It's definitely gonna have more tape on it. And I'm gonna say right now, I definitely better not mess it up. So I'm sticking the 1/2 inches together, but not the gussets. I'm admitting now that this is faster, perhaps a bit more challenging. Okay, so I did get the hinge done without a hitch. Animals. But my camera overheated and I really couldn't stop where I was, so but you can tell that that's definitely the one that I was using. There's a couple spots on here that I didn't get all the way the edge. I'm not too worried about it because I've still got to put the paper on either side. So one of the tasks that you miss because it's already glued together is the flexing it, but you can do that once it's glued in place. So you should have about 1/8 inch on the bottom and the top. I'm gonna move mine down so I can use the camera to square it up because I can't put my head over it unless you guys want to see my head. So you want the gussets and the hinges to fall on either side of, or in between the two. The chipboard layer, the spine. That's what I'm trying to say. But hard to line. This is like the hardest part, I think, is to get it straight. If this is not straight, your whole book, all your pages are crooked. I'm gonna say that's probably about as good as I'm gonna get. Very sticky. Trying to see because I'm gonna say that that's good. I'm not 100% on that, but we'll find out. Okay, and I still haven't located my bone folder. I have two. There's one. We'll use this one. Okay, when you get to the indents here, Okay. Actually, I think I'm pretty close. Just making sure that tape is stuck down. That's burnishing the tape. I think it's the tape I'm burnishing. Okay, let's see to this side. You can kind of tell how straight your spine is by looking at where that is. Still pretty confident about that. This is going to just kind of give your paper a little bit of flexibility. Now, if I hadn't used the giant score tape, I would have done this before I put these on. But if you just snip off the front and you leave, that's more like a 1/4 inch. I prefer to leave like an 1/8 inch. Let's try it this way. Yeah. You leave like an 1/8 inch at the bottom. Anyways, I'm not doing a very good job at this, but it makes the pages easier to slide on. And if you leave the proper amount of gap at the bottom, which is about an 1/8 inch, it makes it so your papers don't sit right on the spine, making them hard to turn and or making when you turn the page, the like pattern paper folds up on you or something like that. Okay, now it's time this is like starting to look like a really old vintagey book. Thinking maybe I should have used a brown. Maybe I'll use a brown for the pages instead of this cream, because that cream is coming off really stark. I can grunge this up or even spray it or paint it. Let me think about this. What should I do with it? It's 1/4 inch gussets, and you won't really see the rest. I'm wondering if what should I do? Maybe a strip of washi tape? What do you think? I wish I was doing a live right now. My live camera, you guys, is really crappy. It's very blurry. Well, if we're gonna do whatever we're gonna do, we could probably do it after the pages are on. I have part of this hinge that's not stuck down. I'll remedy that. I think I'm gonna ink it, guys. Or let's just spray it. Let's spray it with some antique linen. Let's spray it with some antique linen. Let's see how well score tape holds up. I may have to go darker. I have a parchment paper that I could use, but it doesn't fold very good. You guys think that's dark enough? I have a walnut stained distress paint. I don't want it to look dirty. See, this is going to be the only part you can see is between the hinges. Ooh. That looks like poo. Oh well. It's going to be dingy, I guess. Alright, so now this is going to have to dry completely. Okay, yeah. Note to self, the base is not going to be cream. I don't like that idea. Too bright for this album. Okay, so I can touch up the rest if I need to. We're going to let this dry first. I think that will kind of do the trick. Again, the only part you're going to see is between these hinges. Doesn't have to be a consistent color. There we go. Alright, we'll just let that dry then. So while my hinge is drying, we can make the pages, but since this is a series, let's go ahead and show you everything I do. So the first thing that I do before I make the pages is decide what the pages are going to be, how many of what type. Do I want flaps, depending on, you know, the age range of what we're, who this is for, if we have any intentions at all. I prefer to do flaps instead of tags, etc. So, we can do this all one page style, or we can do, you know, several different kinds. I think, let's do 4 different pages, so 2 of each of those pages, and we'll use all the same base page. One of the easiest things to do is use the same base page to get through what am I doing here? Oh, okay. To get through the monotony of this situation. So this is a 7 3/4, right? Because we're doing the 8-inch spine. We made the pages 7 3/4. I'm gonna double check that measurement before I make too many plans here. Yes, 7 3/4. So the pages are going to be 7 3/4, and it's a 6-inch book, so let's make them 5 3/4. And then you also want to take into consideration what types of pictures and stuff you're going into it. Standard pictures 4x6. If you want 4 on a page, or 2x3, or 2x3 or 3x4s. And I usually, for a mini album, it's a mini album, I usually figure that we're going to use some 3x4s. So let's do an easy thing. Let's make each page a pocket page. So as the overall pages are 5 3/4 by 7 3/4, let's leave a 3/4 inch gap here on each page, and that's going to be a pocket. I use like a little arrow to designate that that's a pocket. So in order to make this base page, you're going to need 2 pieces of paper, and you want to make the back part the one without the hinges on it. So it's going to be 5 3/4 by 7 3/4. So I need 1 piece, well, 5 3/4 by 7 3/4, and 1 piece that this one's going to be 3/4 of an inch less here. So this one's going to be 5 inch by 7 3/4, but then you need a 1/2 inch on both sides to fold over. So that's add an inch to this. So that is 5 by 8 3/4. And we need one of those, but we're going to make 8 pages, so really we're going to make 8 of each of these. And I'm going to show you this process because you can come up with your own mini album ideas. And this is how we can do it. So that's the base page. We know that that's what the base page is going to look like. And then the back is just going to be a 7 3/4 by 5 3/4 square. Typically, I like to leave the backs blank so that there's at least, one big spot to put photo collages, to journal, to put a big photo. So right now, my intention is to leave the back blank. You can also take note that you're going to need photo mats to put in this pocket. And you want to make the photo mats about a 1/2 inch smaller than the actual pocket. So let's do a photo mat. You want it, hang on, let me take that back. You want it a 1/2 inch smaller than the pockets, but you have to take into consideration that your hinge is coming out a 1/2 inch inside this pocket. So whereas your 5 3/4 is actually going to be a usable pocket that is only 5 1/4 wide by 7 3/4 tall. So you want a 7 1/4, which is going to make it a 1/4 inch on both sides, by probably about a 5 inch mat. So that's going to leave you a 1/4 on each side here. Let's do, and then, yeah, that should do. That should leave you a 1/4 on each side here, a 1/4 here, and it should butt right up against this back, being 5 1/4. 5 1/4 plus 1/2, or 5, I said 5. 5 inch mat, sorry. 5 inch plus your 1/2 inch here, plus a 1/4 inch here. That's going to leave you just perfect 1/4 inch all the way around here. So our mats are going to be 5 by 7 1/4. And you're going to need 8 of those. Okay, you kind of understand that. You have to take a 1/2 into consideration for a 1/2 inch for the spine and leave a 1/4 inch all the way around. Hopefully I didn't confuse you. Okay, so let's look at page designs. I want 4 different pages, and I use grid paper because I can't draw a straight line. I definitely can't cut a straight line. Okay, so that's our pocket. Technically you don't want to put anything here because your tag's going to be there. You're not going to see that. I usually put a strip of pattern paper there. So let's do, for our first design, let's do, and this is going to be page 1. So you want it to be, something cool so that when you open the book you see it. Let's do how about a swing pocket page for the first one? And this again, let's see, that's 5. The usable space here is 5 inches by 7 3/4. So you want to take that, you want to keep that in mind. Your usable space is 5 by 7 3/4. So do you want it to open this way, or do you want to do both? I don't want to put magnets in this album, so let's open it this way. So out of this 5-inch usable area, let's do a 4.5-inch swing pocket. And I'm going to use an arrow this way to designate that it opens this way. Okay. So it's a 4.5-inch swing pocket, and we'll just do a pocket at it's 7 3/4. So let's do the pocket. We want it less than half, I think. Let's do the pocket at 3.5. Okay, so in order to make this swing pocket, this one's 5 inches, and then you need a 1/2 inch for the hinge by 7 3/4. So you want one piece that's 5.5 by 7 3/4. That's the big piece. And then you want the pocket piece, which is going to be 3.5, we decided, this way, by 5, but then you need a 1/2 inch on both sides for the hinges. So you want this to be 3.5 by 6. And we need one of each of those, but we're making 2 pages. Okay, and then if you wanted something on the back or behind it, you can definitely do that. But what this is going to do is it's going to give you a pocket. You're going to have a tag in here, which I'm not going to do the tag right now because I kind of just use my scraps, so whatever size scraps I have left over. So we have a pocket and a tag, and then you're going to have 2 big usable spaces on the other side of this. So that's page 1 and page 5. So let's go on to page 2. Isn't this easy? Page 2. And you can even go as far as to like label your oh, what was I going to say? Figure out your mat sizes and stuff, but I just do that later. That's too much for me. So I think it would be neat. Now I have a pocket here, so I don't want to do another pocket. I actually have a pocket and a swing, and I don't. So let's do, since that one's swinging out, let's do one that swings up. So we'll just make a flap, and let's make it a full flap, leaving just a 1/4 inch at the bottom. And with the flaps, you don't want them to sit up against your hinge, so you got to make that about a 1/4 inch smaller too. So remember our usable space. Oh, we can actually, yeah, can we? Yeah. Let's, how do we do that? Say we can go over here. Yeah, let's do that. We'll go over this, so we'll make this the full, we'll just make it like a 1/2 inch shorter, and then we'll just go back and cut a little slit there so we can still fit our tag in. And this whole thing goes up. So this is going to be, you want a 1/4 inch all the way around. It is a 5 3/4 by 7 3/4. So we're going to make this, let's see, 5 1/4 by, it would be 7 1/2 plus your 1/2 inch for your hinge, so 8 1/2. So your flappy thing is 5 1/4 by 8 1/2. And you can always add something to the flap, or you can add like a pocket underneath. I have this pocket here, so I really don't feel like I need something underneath. Wait, let's add an insert, but let's not worry about what that insert is right now. So let's just put insert here to keep that idea. Okay, so we're already at page 3, which is like almost halfway there. And again, we have this. Let's go ahead and do let's do, this is a full flap up. Let's do a double pocket going sideways here. So we're going to make this a pocket here and here, and we'll have tags. This symbolizes tags. So again, this is 7 3/4 by 5. The usable space is 5. So let's make our pockets 3 inches. And you can do a hinge down here so that your pockets fold all the way down. I'm just gonna glue it there because I think when you do a hinge at the bottom, when I do it, my tags get stuck on it. So let's not do that. So we'll do a 3, and then 7 3/4 divided by 2 is going to be 3 5/8, right? 3 5/8 plus 3 5/8 is 6 10/8. I don't think that's right. 3 7/8. I'm going to do math over here. This is really me here. So 7. Let's see. That's 14 minus 8. That's 6. 6/8. That is not 7 3/4. Or you can just use your calculator. And I've gotten lazy because I do just use my calculator. 3 7/8. That's what I said. Whoops. 3 7/8. Huh. So I did something wrong here. 14. Okay, so 3, yep. Okay, so 3 7/8. Then you need a 1/2 inch on both sides of those, so that's 4 7/8. So we need 3 by 4 7/8 for this, and then 2 of those, so a total of 4. Okay, and then the last page, zooming right along here. Let's do, for the last page, let's make an entire, flap that flaps out this way and covers the inside tag. So again, this is 5 this is 5. Usable space is 5. But then it is going to be 5 3/4 because we're going to go on the edge of the tag itself, or on the other side of the insert pocket here. So 5 3/4, you're going to want to leave, let's be safe and leave a 1/2 inch down here. And then let's leave a 1/4 inch top and bottom. So the entire page then is going to be 7 1/4. That's the flap here. We want 5 1/4 to leave the 1/2 inch at this side, plus the gusset, so 5 3/4. So the fourth page, we're going to do 2, 5, or no, well, it's 2 pages, 5 3/4 by 7 1/4. And then let's go ahead and on the main page here, do another pocket just like the front page. So we already have the measurements for that. That is a 3 1/2 by 6. Yes. Yes, 3 1/2 by 6. That's gonna be, yep, we're good there. All right, so there. That's how I plan my mini albums, just like that, you guys. And you can configure this. You can do it any way you want. Basically, you jot down what you want, and then all you have to do is simple math: add, subtract. Don't forget your hinges, and just visualize it in your head. So next, we'll start making these pages. Okay, now that we know what we're going to do, and we've decided that our pages are going to be brown, let's go ahead and do our base pages. And our base pages, we decided, are going to be 5 3/4 by 7 3/4. And then we need a 5 3/4 by 8 3/4 for the other page, or for the other half of that page. So on this piece of paper, try and cut logistically here so that I have the least amount of waste. And this is 8 1/2 by 11, so half would be 5 1/2, and you can totally decide to change your page width to 5 1/2 so you can get 2 per. But I'm going to go ahead with our original design, and we'll always use the rest for pockets and tags, and I never throw anything away. So let's do 7 3/4 by 5 3/4. That's going to be the base page, and I'm only going to cut one. At first, I'm only going to cut one at first because I want to make sure that it works, that it fits. And then this one has to be, this one's 5 3/4 by 7 3/4. This one has to be 5, what did I say it was going to be? 5 by 8 3/4. Now you get 2 of these. No, you won't. So okay, so here's my 2 halves, and I'm just going to set this aside. We're going to score ½ inch on both sides. Okay. And then you can use glue or score tape for the sides. I usually start with score tape and end up with glue because I get lazy. Let's go ahead and add the glue. Okay, and this paper's texture, and I want to make sure texture and texture on the same side. So texture is here, So I want texture to be here. I did that wrong. This is the pocket. There we go. Now it fits. Okay. And you line it up at the bottom. Okay. And this was an offcut. Okay. So the first thing we do is just double check. Make sure it all fits. This is my front. Make sure it fits on the spine. Make sure it fits in your book the way you want. And it does. We're good to go. So we're going to go ahead and do 7 more of these. The more you do at a time, it's kind of like an assembly line, the faster it goes. So I'm going to cut 7 more pieces of paper at 7 3/4 by 5 3/4. You can even do 2 at a time in my cutter. And these offcuts of this sheet are, we're just going to cut a little bit off of that, and that'll be the mat for them. So it's a good size offcut, but we can use it. That's 5. There's my 7 more, and then the top piece is 5 by 8 3/4. One more. Okay, now I'm not going to make you watch me do all these, but you score all of them again at a 1/2 inch. Make sure if you have a texture cardstock that you have texture on the same side, so that you don't have one smooth and one textured side butt up against each other. And we'll be back to do some decorating and to put the pages in the book. Okay, I've got all 8 of my pages folded and glued. Just checking the count. If you're going to put a corner on your pages, now's the time to do it. I like these We Are Memory Keeper punches. I've had these for ever, and they're simple, and you can cut through more one at a time if you want, unless I'm doing something flat. I don't typically do that. I have 3 of these, and I think they're probably Well, no, they're most definitely the ones that I use most. So on this one, I'm going to put we'll put a stub corner, and you want to keep this corner punch out. It looks like a ticket stub. You want to keep this corner punch out because we're going to punch the paper that goes here too. And when you're using these punches, the most important thing is, and this is any corner punch, to make sure that your page is flush on both sides with the guides here. So this is at a 90 degree, and you want to keep it at 90 degree. If you have a side that sticks out a little bit more, which is a possibility, you can always trim it off, or you can kind of just, since this is a simple punch, you can kind of wiggle it in there to get it as close as possible. You can see because I glued them, this paper is not quite as thick as what I normally use. And I think it's just because it's the textured versus the smooth cardstock, because the smooth cardstock doesn't tend to do that. So anyways, I got some waves there, but that's okay because I'm going to cover it with pattern paper. You're only going to see about 1/8 to 1/16 of an inch of that. So we punch all 8 envelopes on both sides. This is going to be a total of 16 punches, and you can see it goes fairly quickly. One of the things that I like about doing a series like this is that I can take my time on an album and I don't feel rushed to get it done. So you guys are going to, I just dropped my punch. You guys are going to see, I think, a better outcome because it's a hobby and it's meant to take time, and it's meant to be fun, not hurried. And I want everybody to feel the same. Okay, now I'm going to take score tape, and I'm going to score tape both sides of each of these hinges. If you immediately, if you just painted this or inked this, you want to wait till this dries completely before you put your score tape on it. And I'm using the 1/4 inch score tape on a 1/2 inch hinge, and it seems to do the trick quite well. Again, this is Kathy Orta's, or Kathy Orta King style. Hidden hinge binding system, and this binding system is not, what, at least 6 years old, but I'm pretty sure it's older than that. I'm definitely going to link the score tape below because a lot of people like gluing their hinges in. Okay, so I score tape nearly everything. I think it holds better, but people say in some climates, I know Texas is one of them, that the score tape won't hold. I've had minis that I created years and years ago, and the score tape's holding fine for me. Actually, I'll show you one of them right now. This album I created in 2010, I think, and it's all score tape. I didn't tape down very well, but the hinge is held in by score tape. It's the same kind of hinge and everything. This is one of the first albums I did, and it is a Kathy Orta tutorial. Okay. So it stands the test of time as far as I'm concerned. Alright. And when I buy 5 rolls at a time. And I have my wonderful gigantic score tape now too, which allows me to not buy so much of the 1/4 and 1/2 inch. So just take your time. Make sure you go from coast to coast. Okay, one more. All right. Make sure that you have the front of your album out. And you want the pocket to go towards the front. And I did notice that the album started to bow a little bit. Which kind of surprised me because I didn't think it was going to bow. But it's okay. I'm not worried about it. Okay, so let's put the pages in. Again, make sure this is the front. Make sure your pocket's facing the front. I'm going to start with the back page and go forward. Just personal preference because it allows me to line up my pages. This is going to be like the moment of truth, whether or not your spine is in or your hinges are in flat, because you're going to straddle your page around that hinge. You leave about 1/8 inch at the bottom and go straight down. I pinch the corners and then I'm just going to smooth out the rest. So seemingly I have a little bit down here, a little bit up here, and it looks pretty straight, so looks like my hinge is in correctly. Okay. Next page, we're going to do the same thing. And the good thing about doing the back first is you kind of line up your pages the way that they'll be setting when your book is open. Now, if you have crooked pages, which I have plenty of times in the past, don't worry about it too much. Don't toss it. Don't start over. It's a learning experience. You can hide those things. And I just put that page on crooked. See how much of this one's showing here? It's a little crooked. I'm good with it. It's okay. Nobody's gonna notice but you. This is almost like a self-help. You are going to be the only one that notices the small things. Again, you straddle your hinge. Make sure it's straight. And push it straight down. There we go. We can hide the imperfections. That's where my score tape ran out. glued my page together. There we go. And I know we made a map, a cheat sheet for our pages. We came up with great ideas. Just keep in mind that doesn't mean that you can't change your ideas. One of the things that I like doing the most is putting all my pages together, like the basic pages, and then as I'm matting and putting things on them, change it up a little bit. Add a couple flaps, add an extra pocket, add a small pocket. You know, all those things are possibilities. Alright, one more page. We still haven't picked out a paper collection for this yet. But if I did, which I don't remember if I did or not last week, yeah, if I did, I can always change my mind, right? Okay. So there we are. My pages are in. And then they're looking pretty good. They're a little crooked, but not too much. Let's see. They're pretty straight. I'm pretty happy with that. Alright, let's pick out some paper before we go on. I'm going to pick out a paper. We're going to cut some pockets that we already know what we're cutting. Pockets, tags, or not tags, flaps. All that stuff has to be done. And yeah, let's get started on it. Okay, so I took the time to cut out all the pages in the large photo mats. And I used all scraps. I think I used all scraps for everything except for maybe one or two new pieces of paper. And I decided also on the paper collections that I'm going to use. I'm going to use the Stamperia Voyages Fantastiques and the Ciao Bella Voyages Extraordinaire. So I'll mix it up a little bit, and that's okay. We can do that. And they have similar color schemes and similar art, so I think it's going to go well. I think we'll be just fine. So, and the only reason why I wanted to make sure that I had the correct paper or the paper picked out when I started was because sometimes when you're putting pages together, you think it'd be easier to mat it before you put your flips and flaps on and stuff, but normally you can get away with just go ahead and doing it, and it'll be to your benefit that you do it later, because if you were to mat everything right now, you would end up covering a lot of it up. So, back to our page here, and we're going to look at page 1, and you don't have to do page 1 as page 1, but you can do whatever you want. But this page opens like a flap, and then each flap has 2 pockets on it. And I did not cut the smaller tags, but I kept all my scraps I have. This is all the scraps that I have left. So these are going to be perfect for tags. These are perfect for smaller tags. And then I have these strips left, which some of those I'll keep to make hinges out of for my bigger projects. Anything that's at least 1 inch, so I can score it a 1/2 inch. And then the very small ones we'll throw out. I also have some Prima gold butterflies. Crystal carries a lot of Prima flowers and such, so if I can find them, I will link them down there. And Prima's 15% off this month, so be sure you check that out. Okay, so let's get started. We decided, and it's on the map, that we have 2 pieces for each page, so four total pieces of the 3.5 by 6, and 2, which one for each page of a 5.5 by 7 3/4. And the nice thing about, one of the nice things about doing the map is that you get to cut all your pages at the same time, and it is a time saving. So the other thing is that, remember I started with the cream color and I decided that I didn't want it. Of course I would never throw that paper away, because it's, you know, we're going to use it, but you don't have to save it for a project. You can use it right now. So those cream colored scraps that I have can be mattes also. So I just have this, I don't remember what these are actually for, but they use them for a lot of different things. You can use them for painting really small surfaces, you know, putting dots on stuff. You can use them for, I think quilling may be one of the things, or maybe even the main thing. But I like using this size to do my scores, because I find that sometimes the score tool on the bone folder, I push too hard and it pokes through the paper. So you are scoring at 1/2 inch on the small side of the larger paper, and a 1/2 inch on both sides of the smaller paper to make the pockets. And we're going to do like the super simple stuff right now, and then maybe we'll embellish it a little bit more going forward. Now, if you want to add like decorative corners or something to it, now's the time to do it. So since we have these flaps, we're going to go ahead and let's use the same as we use for the pages, so that they'll kind of match up. And then for the tags and the mats, we can use the deco punch, which is almost the opposite of a stub punch. Now, when you glue the pocket on this, you're going to have to re-punch that corner, because you're going to cover up the punch. And again, I'm watching the texture, so the texture's on the same side. And you can use tape or glue. I'm just going to use regular ATG on my pockets, and then we'll use glue on the actually hinged page. The pockets aren't going to have a whole lot of torque to them, but the flipping and flapping of the page is going to be have a little bit more. And this is what I was talking about. See that corner? But I'm going to put the other one on the other side, so let's go ahead and do that. The other thing is that when you mat this pocket, you're going to kind of go under the pocket a little, and it's going to reinforce that fold. Now, when you put this pocket on, I forgot to do something, you guys. You have to glue the bottom of the pocket down. We'll do the next one right. It was way messier than it has to be. Okay. All right. Now, on this one, glue the bottom of the pocket. There we go. And you want to make sure that you don't get all the way up in that corner. If it has to hang off this side a little bit, that's okay. You want to make sure that your crease is still there so that it closes all the way. And then stub. And I'm going to go ahead and make both of these pockets, or I'm sorry, I'm going to make both of these pages before I glue any of them in. I may change my mind about how I want them after I see them. So you do the same thing with this one. I'll do that off camera. And then our page 2 was just going to be the one that flapped up, so that's going to be super simple. You take these two 5 1/4 by 8 1/2 and you score them at 1/2 inch. And again, I'm just watching the making sure, oh yeah, 1/2 inch. Making sure that the texture is on the same side. And that's it for that page for now. Page 3 is the double pocket page. This is probably the hardest one. You have oh, I see what I did. These I have to glue right on the page, so there's no big part to it. I don't think I cut enough. I need 4 3 by 4 7/8. So I have a 3 inch one here, 3 1/2. So let's cut 3 by 4 7/8. There's one. And I just cut into my, that's perfect, we'll have 3 inch off. Okay. There we go. Now I have what I need. And we're just going to score at 1/2 inch on both sides. Long sides. Because it's a 4 7/8 measurement, you can measure, you know, the 1/2 inch, which would be the 4 3/8, or you can just do a 1/2 inch. If you're like me and don't want to think, do a 1/2 inch, flip, and do another 1/2 inch. I'm gonna put these in a different pile so I remember. Where know, that this is that one page, because I'll be like, where do these go? Especially if I don't do it right away. And I have a birthday thing that I'm about to go to, so I don't know how long I'm going to be able to do this. So if you walk away, be sure you label your intentions. There we go. And I could always look at my map again if I forgot. But. Okay, page 4. It was a simple one too. Page 4 was a giant flap and pocket on the main page. So the giant flap is here. Score each side at a 1/2 inch on the short side. And then we also have to determine whether or not we're going to use magnets or some other form of closure on these flaps, or if we're just going to let them like fling, because typically I don't use closures or magnets, but I do have some, so that's a possibility. Okay, the only page that we have to put together prior to putting them on our book is that one page, so let's just do it as we go. And that was page 1. So page 1's the only one that we can pre-assemble. Okay. So let's go ahead and start with page 1. And I don't need my magnets yet, because typically you can wait till you're matting the paper. So I believe I was supposed to make this so that it opened this way, but I didn't. I made it, if I want the texture on the same side, for it to open this way. And I think I made it a little too long unless I go all the way out to the very end. And we can definitely do that, but the other page is similar. Let's go ahead and do it. So this originally was supposed to be, I'll just show you, this page. But because if I want the texture on the same side, and it would work. What to do? Oh, let's just leave it. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and glue that in that way. I know I said I was going to use glue. I think I'm going to use some score tape. So, score tape. Because I don't have a whole lot of flaps, I'm going to go ahead and use score tape. So the texture's not going to be on the same side. I've been preaching put the texture on the same time the whole time, but it's drastic measures. Okay, so there's our first page. Super simple. Second page is the big flap that goes up. Always check to a fit to make sure you're not covering anything important. And we did make this page so that when we put it on, we have to trim this so the big tag will go in, but it's a bit long down here. I'm going to trim a 1/2 inch off these 2 pages. My trimmer doesn't go down to a 1/2 inch. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and put the same corner on these. And either one of these sides, when we start putting stuff together, is going to be candidate for another pocket or flap, because there's a lot of space there. So I'll run this along here. And before you glue it down, just make sure that it's running straight along the side. Okay, and now we're going to open that back up. And we're going to cut, excuse me, we're going to cut here so that our flap will still go in. And you just want to cut through the first sheet. You don't want to cut through the second. If you're worried about this step, just make it a little smaller. It's about a 1/2 inch. Actually, I don't even think I got that part glued down all the way. Okay. I guess since the tape's not sticking, I'll just go ahead and cut that little bit off there. It's going to be covered anyways. You're going to mat this part, so it doesn't matter. There we go. There's page 2 done. Page 3 is that double pocket page I left myself notes on. And how this works is, and we're just going to check my measurements before I start gluing down. There's going to be a pocket here and a pocket right next to it. And I'm a little over. Probably if you split the difference like a 1/16 of an inch on both sides, I'm okay with that. So this is a page where we're going to want to mat first. So not quite ready to cut into my pattern paper yet. Let's set this aside, because when you mat this, just this top half here, it's going to be a smaller section. So I'm going to go ahead and just stick these in this big pocket saying, hey, you still have to do this. Okay, and then page 4 is a large swing page that is going to swing out this way. So stub both sides. Make sure you get your adhesive all the way to the ends of your flaps. Okay, here we go. And we're going to want to stub this side too. Since I already put the adhesive on it, if you turn it upside down, it won't stick so much. And then this is going to go right up against it. We're going to split the difference. It's going to be about a 1/2 inch on both sides, and it's going to go right in the center, leaving you about a quarter inch on both sides. And then here's your pocket, and the pocket is going to go on the inside. Okay, and that's your 4 pages. So I'm going to do that again off camera, and we'll come back and we'll start matting. So, well, actually, we're gonna mat next week. So I'm going to go ahead and do the next 4 pages. I'll come back and show you what it looks like, and then we'll mat next week. So yeah, be sure you like and subscribe and hit the notification button so you can still see how this turns out and craft along with me. Here, my little project. So I'll be back to show you how it turned out.